Here is a Mazda CX-5. Before we get started though, let me give a quick shout out to Naya Motors Inc. for letting us use the car today to film the videos. They are a used car dealer here in Ottawa, Canada. Check out the link in the description for their entire inventory. Now let's go ahead and get started. Open the driver's side door, pull the primary hood release lever there. Now in front of the vehicle, right on top of the Mazda emblem, a little bit to the driver's side to the left, put one finger in there and push it. Yep, lift up the hood. This would require a prop rod. Get the rod out and put it in that slot with the arrow marking it. Like that. Pull it back and you're good. We'll be talking about all the fluids, the windshield washer fluid, then the engine oil and how to check and add the oil. Then we'll talk about the coolant reservoir and the radiator pressure cap and how that system works, and then the brake fluid. And we'll also be discussing the transmission fluid and the power steering fluid at the very end. First off, the brake fluid. Right over there, look at the side of the reservoir. You will be able to see the fluid level. There are two markings on it, min and max. Let's take a closer look over here. Minimum and maximum. The fluid level should be between the two levels. If you can't see the fluid level clearly, just try shaking the reservoir a little bit. You'll see the fluid inside slosh and then you'll be able to get a better reading. See that? It's right there between min and max, and that's good.
Now the way the brake system works is you got three main components to it. You got the brake pedal, you got the brake fluid, and then you got the actual brakes. The only thing that connects your brake pedal to the brakes is the brake fluid. So obviously it's very important. Now if you want to make sure that it's in good condition and that there is enough of brake fluid. The problem with brake fluid is that it's hygroscopic, meaning it just loves moisture. The moment you expose brake fluid to the atmosphere, it's just going to absorb all the moisture out of the air. And that's the problem, because you do not want brake fluid and moisture to be mixed together, because that makes it unpredictable. And when that does happen, your brake pedal now starts feeling spongy and mushy, and the car takes longer distances to stop, so that's not good. If it does happen that you left the cap off for more than 15-20 minutes, what I strongly suggest you do is you take your car to a mechanic. They have a device that can measure the moisture content in the brake fluid, and they can tell you if you're okay or if you need to get your brake fluid flushed out. And if you do need to get it flushed out, that's one place you do not want to cheap out on. So definitely just get it done if you have to get it done. It is what it is. The brake system is sealed off, right? So it doesn't really consume brake fluid on a daily basis. So it's not like you have to top it off every now and then. The reason why you may notice a change in the brake fluid level though is that one, either there's a leak in your system which is serious and you definitely want to get that checked out, or two, your brake pads are worn down. So what happens is when you get new brake pads, they're thick. Over time though, they get worn down and they get thinner. And now in order to compensate for the thinner pads, the worn down pads, the brake system takes some of the fluid out of the reservoir and into the actual brake lines. So that may cause the level to go down in the reservoir. All right. So those are the two reasons. And if you do have to top it off, I'll show you how to do it.
It says it right there on it. We need .3 or 4 fluid. Open up the cap, goes in there. That's what it should say on the bottle, .3 or .4. Once you're done, put the cap back on and twist it right to lock it, and you are done. Onto the windshield washer fluid, take it out. There's a dipstick in there that gives you a reading of the fluid level. The highest hole that has fluid in it, that's the fluid level. See that right there? That's the fluid level currently in this reservoir. Now if you want, you could put water in there if you'd like, but I would suggest putting windshield washer fluid even in the summer, because windshield washer fluid has detergents that just helps clean the windshield better. Now in the winter though, if you live in a place where the temperature goes below freezing, definitely avoid putting water and put the proper windshield washer fluid, because what happens is the temperature drops, water is going to expand, become ice, and cause all sorts of problems. So put proper windshield washer fluid. Like see, this one is rated all the way up to minus 45 degrees Celsius. Also remember, this is chemical, it's not just water, so read all the warning labels over it and do not let children near it. As you can see, this also has a safety cap on it that I have to squish from the side and then twist left. Sometimes you have to press down and then twist left. Different types of safety caps. Hold the bottle the way I'm holding. One hand on the bottom, one hand on the top. The bottom hand is used to control the flow of the fluid, and fill it up all the way to the top. When you see the fluid level at the top, just stop, put the cap back on the bottle, and put this dipstick with the lid back in. You may have to twist and turn it a little bit, but it'll go right back in. Press it and you're done.
Now what happens is when the engine is running, it just produces heat, right? It's burning fuel, so it gets hot. Now you want the engine to be warm, but you don't want it to overheat, Because if it overheats, then I mean, it just causes all sorts of problems. So you don't want any of that to happen. Now that's where the coolant comes in. Because what the coolant does is the coolant circulates within the engine. It collects all the heat, and now the hot coolant, it goes to the radiator, it cools off, and comes back in, collects more heat, goes back to the radiator, cools off, comes back in. The cycle keeps on repeating again and again. However, in this whole system, what you need is an expansion tank, because the coolant itself, as it heats up, it's going to expand. And as the name suggests, you need an expansion tank where the extra coolant can sort of just go temporarily, and then it can come back to the main cooling system. And that's what you need an expansion tank for.
Now that is the radiator pressure cap. You have no need to open this, and definitely don't even try to open it when it's hot, because pressurized coolant will come out, splash around and cause injuries, and you don't want that. Just follow the hose over there. This leads us to the coolant expansion tank. To check the level of coolant in the expansion tank, look at it from the side, and always check the coolant when the engine is cold, because when the engine is warm, the coolant is going to heat up, expand, and give you a false reading. See, there are two markings on it, F and L, full and low. It should be between F and L. If you have to top off coolant, get one of this 50-50 mix, which is ready to use. You don't have to add any water, any diluted water, nothing. You can just use it the way it is. So Preston is a good brand. And another option for that is to use the Preston Max, which is designed specifically for Asian vehicles. Says it right there on it. Read all the warnings on it, and do not let children near it. And if you have to top it off, pull up that cover, and right there, just pull out this tube as well, and then top off the coolant in there. And once you're done, just put it back in, press it close, and you are done.
Now the engine oil is the most important fluid in your car. Without engine oil, your engine's gone. It's seized up. Alright, and that's a major problem. So the easiest thing you can do to make sure your engine lasts a long time is to make sure that it has proper engine oil in it, the proper quantity and the proper type of engine oil in it at all times. Alright, so you definitely want to check your engine oil at least once a month. Don't wait for that warning indicator light to come on your dash. By the time it comes on, it's too late, and if you're in the middle of nowhere, you may not even have a way to go get new engine oil and top it off. So just check your engine oil level once a month at least. Now the reason why the engine oil is so important is because if you open up that engine, you will find there's hundreds of small pieces which are so close together, working at high speeds, under high temperature, and they just keep on going on for such a long time. And the only thing that prevents the metal parts from rubbing against each other is the engine oil. Alright, so that's the one thing you definitely want to make sure you are in good shape.
Just grab the dipstick and pull it out straight. So what we'll do is we'll pull it out, wipe off all the oil on it, then put it back in. But before we do that, let's take a closer look at the dipstick. See, there are two markings on it, min and max. The fluid level should be between minimum and maximum. Below minimum means there's not enough fluid in the engine, so that's not good. And above maximum, which means there's too much, and even that's not good, because too much oil causes excess fluid pressure to build up, and that causes oil leaks over time. So you don't want that either. So it should be between minimum and maximum. Let's put the dipstick back in all the way. Now let's pull it out and get a fresh reading. In this case, the fluid level is between minimum and maximum. See, the minimum hole is covered, the maximum hole is not covered. So the oil level is between min and max, and that is good. If you have to top off oil though, to go from minimum to maximum takes about 1 quart, about 1 liter of oil approximately. Once you're done, just wipe off the dipstick and put it back in. Now when you're putting it back in, just let's take a closer look. See that it's in, push it down, and now it's secured, and you're done. Now when you're adding oil, just make sure you check the fluid level before you add oil. Then add some more, then check the fluid level again, then add again and check again. So that way you don't end up overfilling oil in the engine. And that's the oil filler cap. That's where you add the oil from. So just twist it left, fill it up, and that's it. That's where the oil goes. And you need 0W20, says it right there on it, 0W20. Put the oil in, put the cap back on the way I'm showing, position it that way, then just twist it right to lock it, and you are done.
Now the transmission fluid. I'm sure you're probably wondering where the transmission fluid dipstick is. It's not like the older cars. This car, this transmission is sealed for life. So there's no dipstick for us to just go and pull it out and check the quality and the level of transmission fluid. But in reality, it's more like sealed till the warranty lasts. It's not really sealed for life for as long as you're going to keep the car. So if you're going to keep the car for a long time, what I suggest you do is every 100,000 miles or 160,000 kilometers, you can flush the fluid. There is a drain plug and there is a way to fill up the fluid. There's just no dipstick. That's about the only thing. But if you really want to just flush the fluid, you can do it. So every 100,000 miles or 160,000 kilometers, just get the transmission fluid flushed and you should be all set. Now, power steering fluid. There is no power steering fluid in this car because this is not a hydraulic based. The older cars used to have a hydraulic power steering system, and hydraulic systems had fluid in it, so there was a way for you to check the fluid and make sure it was topped off, good condition, all of that. But this car has electric power steering. So the way the power steering works is there's a motor that actually helps you turn the steering. So if anyone tells you you need to get your power steering fluid flushed, there is no power steering fluid in this car. It's funny, and the reason why I even mention is because in one of my previous videos for our 2017-2018 Hyundai Elantra, which again also has electric power steering, someone mentioned that they took the car to a dealership and the dealership technician suggested that they should get a power steering fluid flush, which had made no sense to me whatsoever. And I mean, just doesn't make any sense because there is no fluid to begin with. I mean, there's no point of having fluid in it. So if you're wondering where the power steering fluid is, there is none in this car, and that's one less thing to check and worry about. And that's pretty much it.
Now in order to close the hood, first push it, get load off the prop rod, get it out of the slot over there, put it back in its place, lower the hood, and then slam it shut. Hope you found it useful.